What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here is Legitical Response. We cover political news. We keep you up to date and keep you informed with everything that the government does. Now, you know how you go and watch the news, and anybody from the Biden administration, the White House, the press secretary, anybody, they'll get out there and they'll get out in front of these things and say, yes, the economy is doing great. Look at the job numbers. Look at the stock market, y'all. The economy's great. What are y'all complaining about? Well, it's just funny because the average everyday American, they'll go to the grocery store and they'll look at the prices. And then they'll compare and contrast that with going to the grocery store, what was it, not 3 years ago, and paying a whole hell of a lot less for just about everything. We look at gas prices, our electricity bill, our cell phone bills, everything has gone up. Then you got these people in government, they're telling you, you're lying, the economy's great. What are you talking about? Wage growth has come up to meet with inflation. Yeah, right. I don't think people are buying it. But you know what? Behind closed doors, the Biden administration is pretty much in panic mode right now. We just saw the Biden administration trying to do something on the border because he knows that is a losing issue. And guess what, Joe? This is my message to you. You can't come out in the 11th hour, the very last minute, and try to do something on the southern border and expect people to buy into that. No, I'm sorry. That is not how reality works. You can't ignore the border crisis for 3.5 years and then all of a sudden do something, which, by the way, it's not going to pass. It's going to get knocked down. They're not going to allow him to do that, but he's trying to do it anyway to earn political brownie points. Of course, we covered that yesterday, so if you don't know what Joe Biden's plan on the border is, I would suggest go check that video out. But let's get into it. Biden's team asks CEOs how to further boost the economy, while Trump says business is on his side. This is just great, right? Like the AP. This is why I love covering left-wing news sources, because they have a pretty bad case of Trump derangement syndrome, right? Like they can't say something negative about Biden and not say something negative about Trump. They're trying to portray Trump as the greedy businessman, and he's the blue-collar working class folks. He's asking CEOs of companies what can be done to boost the economy. This is just great. Well, you know what? Guess what, Joe?
EJ, seems to me that the housing market is depressed. Is it that bad?
Stu, I think that's a really good word for it. You know, when you look at home sale numbers and you see that these things are as low or lower than they were during COVID when there was a government shutdown, it was illegal for people to even leave their homes and go shopping for another house. I think that puts in perspective just how bad things are. Government has completely frozen over this housing market.
So what's the impact on the economy?
Oh, it's clearly slowing things down, Stu. And unfortunately, this even has an impact on worker mobility because a lot of people right now are locked into homes with an interest rate of 2 or 3%, and they can't leave because if they do, they're going to lose that mortgage. They're going to have to get a new one at 7 or 8%, and it's just simply unaffordable. So as we see that decrease in worker mobility, it means that people are not going to be able to get jobs in different geographical locations.
Economists writing in The Atlantic suggest Trump would make inflation worse, but voters think Trump would handle inflation better. Where are you on this, EJ?
Well, I don't understand why anyone is even listening to something like The Atlantic anymore. The same people who called inflation transitory, the same people who said, well, inflation is really people's fault for spending too much. Oh, I'm so sorry. People are having to spend more on food and rent, basic necessities to survive. Forgive us, dear Atlantic. Give me a break. I mean, this is just the height of elitism here. The policies from this administration, from the Biden administration, are clearly what caused inflation, and reversing them will reverse that inflation.
Are we headed towards stagflation?
Stu, I don't know if we're so much headed to it as already there. Look at the latest PCE report. It shows us that consumers are spending more, but actually buying less. That seems pretty stagflationary to me.
Yeah, they're totally right. This is all due to garbage Democrat policies that these people keep putting out there, and they keep thinking it's going to work this time. It's going to work this time. It's going to work this time, and it never works. All it is doing is tanking our economy. It's making our lives a whole hell of a lot harder, and people are still getting behind Joe Biden. Like, yes, this must be like corporate elites, Hollywood stars. It's got to be these people, because your normal, average, everyday person that looks at the Biden administration, what they've done, look at their pocketbook for a second and think, yes, let's get another 4 years of this. I'm sorry. Average people aren't going to think that way unless they just hate Donald Trump so much. But then you've got your other candidates out there. You've got RFK Jr., which, hey, respect where it's due. RFK is a really good candidate. I've said it before. If Trump wasn't in this race, if it was Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, or anybody like that, yeah, I'd be voting for RFK Jr. I wish Vivek Ramaswamy would have stayed in, but, he did what he did. He saw the writing on the wall. He wasn't getting enough support. And plus, this is Trump's term. I made an analogy the other day. It's kind of like the original Star Wars movies, episodes 4, 5, and 6, right? And Trump's first term would be like episode 4, A New Hope, or whatever. And then after he gets booted out of office or whatever, now we're currently in episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. So I kind of want to see his character arc finish, if you will, if you know what I mean. And I want to see the Return of the Jedi, for God's sakes. I want to finish the trilogy out. Let's get this man back into office and just see what the hell. Let's see if he can actually do what he says he's going to do. And let's hope that he does what he says he can do and get it done and get this economy back on track, get America back on track. I sure hope to God he does. But, I want to see this play out. But let's get into the story. On the campaign trail, President Joe Biden likes to take a hard thwack at corporate America. The Democrat tells voters that companies should pay more in taxes, and he blames many businesses for fueling higher prices by stoking greedflation and shrinkflation. Yeah, Joe, there you go. You implement some garbage, terrible policy, and then when the economy starts tanking and goes bad, you blame it on the corporation, saying it's their fault, not yours, for bad policy and regulating the shit out of these companies, trying to raise their taxes and tax them into oblivion. Yeah, that's not your fault. That's their fault for being greedy. No, I'm sorry. Companies have overhead. Sure, they may make a whole hell of a lot of profits. But you know what? Those corporations do pay a lot in taxes. I don't think they should pay an outrageous amount of taxes to where they can't cover their damn overhead. We need to deregulate these people, tax them a little bit less so these companies can get out there and flourish. Who cares if they make a butt ton of profit? You know what? When you start talking with the pay your fair share in taxes, that makes you sound like a commie. And, I don't know about you guys, but I am not down with any sort of communist talk. I know regular tax policy isn't communist, but pay your fair share sure does seem communist to me, considering the fact that, the top 1% of income earners pay 42% in taxes. The top 10% pay 62%. The top 20% pay like 89% in taxes. So what do you mean, Joe, pay your fair share? You can tax these corporations, but they're going to raise prices if you raise their taxes. They've got to cover their overhead. They've got to make their profits for their damn CEOs and all those people. So why not boost the economy and lower some taxes, deregulate, so you can make these people's lives easier and make their companies flourish, instead of regulating the crap out of these people? Like, Joe Biden is imposing all these massive regulations on oil companies, on, basically the fossil fuel industry as a whole, and then wonders why gas prices go up. No, he doesn't wonder why. He says, oh, they're just being greedy. Yeah, because they're having to pay a whole hell of a lot more because of emissions and all these other BS regulations that your policies implemented, and now they're having to suffer with that. So yeah, they're going to raise prices. They're going to keep their profits the same regardless. But for the past several months, top Biden administration officials have also stepped up their outreach to CEOs and other corporate leaders, asking about what they need. What do y'all need, huh? How about less regulation, less taxes? Leave us alone. Let us do our job so we can make Americans' lives easier and so we can make a butt ton of money. Sure. The effort encroaches on business community terrain that former President Donald Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee, considers to be his home turf. Well, it kind of is. The guy's a business mogul. He's sold all kind of different products. He made his fortune off of the real estate industry, which that's something the left loves to say. Oh, he went bankrupt. He's like 4 or 5 times. Right? Like, how many companies does Donald Trump have? He has a lot of companies, by the way, and only 4 of them went bankrupt. Yeah, I think he's done pretty damn good for himself, considering all of the properties that he has, and considering he's a billionaire. Yeah, I think he's done pretty good. I think the little bankruptcies and the little, I think that's just your Democrats trying to play foul, trying to cry about something. No, Donald Trump is the evil orange man. Yeah, that's all that is. So don't listen to these people when they try to say, oh, well, Donald Trump's... No, Donald Trump's not part of the establishment. So the entirety of the political establishment is now coming after Donald Trump. We've seen this with the political persecutions. Yeah, they come after him over small stuff, small beans, right? Like falsifying business records, right? Like that whole thing right there is outright insane, y'all. Considering Hillary Clinton took campaign funds, paid some people to make up fake evidence to try to take down Donald Trump. And where is the district attorney? Somewhere going after Hillary Clinton for this? What, 8 years after it happened? Yeah, you mean to tell me you want me to still believe that there's not a 2-tier justice system in this country? That it's all just fair? A guy takes presidential records to his house. A guy that has the ability to declassify records, to take his records with him to his house when he leaves office, and you're going to charge him with espionage. And yet over here you have a senator, a state senator, and vice president steal classified documents, take them to his home and his office and some other places, and you're not going to charge him, and you want me to believe there's not a 2-tier justice system in this country. Sell it to somebody else. You can go screw yourself. I can see the writing on the wall here, folks. Both candidates want to drive home a message to voters going into November that they can work with employers, even if the fiercely divided electorate has left many companies wary of publicly taking sides politically. That's mostly because of Democrats and the insane far leftists in this country that will get enraged if you come out and say you're behind Donald Trump. They go off the freaking hinges and go absolutely nuts on you for doing so. But do you see that when you come out and say, "Oh, I'm voting for Joe Biden"? No, you'll get somebody saying, "What? Are you serious? Look at everything Joe Biden's doing." They'll try to tell you Joe Biden's done this, done this, done this, done this. They won't yell and scream at you. They won't call you a fascist. They won't call you a racist or a bigot or a transphobe and dox you online. They won't do any of those things. They'll try to give you a logical explanation as to why Joe Biden is the most corrupt individual in this country, is the most corrupt president that we've ever had, is one of the most corrupt families in this country. Look at his son. I know. Everybody has problems. But by God, Hunter Biden was selling influence, was peddling his dad. You mean to tell me that's not a corrupt family? Yeah, you can go sell that to somebody else. But these people, you get vastly different outcomes when you come out publicly and say, oh, you're behind this person versus being behind this person. So that's one-sided. That's not both sides. The Biden team's pitch to business leaders goes something like this. We think the economy is doing well, but we want to hear from you about how we can drive investment. See what I mean? They're getting out there and they're trying to say the economy's fine, y'all. Sure, the economy is fine. However, we are stagnating right now, Joe, and your policies drove us into stagnation. So the economy is not fine as far as everyday average individuals. The stock market might be up. Unemployment might be low. But as far as the economy to the average person, it is wrenching the life out of people, for God's sakes. You got TikTok after TikTok, viral video after viral video of young kids, Gen Zers, millennials, Gen X even, getting on saying, I can't afford groceries. I can't go buy eggs. I couldn't pay my car note this month. Huh? Like, why? Of course, we have individual problems, but there's so many of these. I can't afford to buy food. And then Joe Biden's going to get out there in front of this and tell people the economy's fine. What are you talking about? And you expect me to buy that? No, I'm sorry. I'm getting behind the orange man. Because at least under the orange man, we had a great economy. Whether that was his fault or not, I don't care. Results are results. We get back underneath Donald Trump and the economy stays in the tank, then I'll recant everything I've said here, and I will call Donald Trump an evil orange man for making our lives much worse. I will do the exact same thing as I'm doing right now. If Donald Trump gets into office and starts screwing everything up, I'm going to be right here in front of my camera making this exact same video because we're going to have a lot of content. We're going to have a whole hell of a lot of news coming from the corporate press about Donald Trump. So get ready. Buckle up for that, y'all. They know that they'll always get a hearing, said Lael Brainerd, director of the White House National Economic Council. We're pragmatists. We solve problems for them. Yay. Biden and Trump are both courting business. On Thursday, Trump will present his case before the Business Roundtable, an association of more than 200 CEOs, for why the economy would be better if he returned to the Oval Office. Yeah, and he'll probably be very convincing, to be honest with you. Biden was invited to appear as well, but he will be in Italy for a Group of 7 summit of world leaders. White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients, himself a former CEO, will stand in and pitch the president's vision to the group. Higher taxes, more regulations. There you go. I just done it for you. It's crazy. All we got to do is look at records, right? You don't look at what people say. Look at what people do. And under Joe Biden, we've not done very good. And under Donald Trump, we did really good, right? Like, that may be a very basic and naive way to say it. But it goes a whole hell of a lot deeper than that when you start looking at policy prescription and what was actually going on. What's underneath just saying that, right? Like, what was the economy doing? How was Donald Trump making the economy better? Deregulating and cutting taxes. Sure, the rich people may have got richer, but guess what? Poor people got richer too. And under Joe Biden, the rich are still getting richer, but yet the poor people are struggling even more. That cannot be denied. I'm sorry, you could sit there and try to say that's not the case, but you look at statistics, and the statistics will prove to you what I am saying to be true. Biden has long sought to balance the interests of businesses and workers, tempering his criticism of companies by noting that as a former senator from Delaware, he comes from the corporate capital of the world and has never held a 9-to-5 job. Never had a job in his entire life. He's been a career politician. So, yeah, if he wants to go ahead and say that, sure. That just means you're a corrupt politician, Joe. Trump, for his part, burnished his reputation as a billionaire property developer and has marketed everything from educational courses, Trump University, which failed in dramatic fashion, by the way, to steaks and neckties, in addition to having his namesake, Trump Media and Technology Group, trading on the stock market. Doing not so bad, by the way. Having cut corporate taxes during his term and pledged to slash regulations, Trump has lined up support from Wall Street billionaires such as Steven Schwarzman, who called him a vote for change. The Washington Post reported that Trump has asked oil industry executives to help fund his campaign, given the profits his administration would produce for them. A report that the Trump campaign said was false. Yeah, that doesn't sound like something that Trump would get out there and do, knowing the backlash that would come from the corporate press about doing so. Of course, it is Trump we're talking about here, so you never know what the guy's actually going to say. He says a lot of off-the-wall shit sometimes, y'all. Let's just be honest. Like, he says some crazy shit sometimes. But, you know, most of the time, he's just joking around like, I'm gonna be a dictator for a day. Yeah, right. Dictator my ass. That didn't sound right, did it? Sorry. Trump has described the U.S. economy as horrible despite the low 4% unemployment rate and rising stock market this year. You see how the corporate press is getting behind the Biden administration. Oh, the economy's doing great, y'all. Look, unemployment's down and the stock market's up. You know what, though? Stock market might be up, but once again, that goes to what I was saying earlier. The rich are getting richer. Unemployment's down, you might say. Well, hang on. We've had 15 million criminal aliens coming into this country. And guess where a lot of those jobs went? A lot of those people got jobs in the United States. So there you go. Joe Biden is giving criminal aliens your unemployment. How you like that? All those new jobs he's creating? Yeah, those are going to criminal aliens. They're not helping the average everyday American person. Plus, I don't understand why they look at unemployment as a indicator for a successful economy, right? Like, you would figure even in a poor economy that people are going to hold on to their jobs. Businesses might not be doing well. I understand that. Want to lay off people, but people would hold on to their jobs. At least for as long as they could. Companies might be letting them go. However, you know, we do have a lot of banks failing right now, so yeah, that doesn't look good for the economy, but I know it's just a marker, an indicator, if you will. It's just one of those little ticks on the box, but it doesn't really align with a great economy regardless, because you could have a booming economy and still have a high unemployment rate. It could go either way is all I'm saying. You know, let me know if I'm wrong down in the comment section. His argument largely resonates with voters because of the 2022 spike in inflation, which has left many U.S. adults pessimistic about the economy. Yeah, and they are. They're definitely pessimistic about the economy. Like I said, there's TikTok after YouTube short, just videos just crying. Like, people just going nuts because they can't afford basic items for their average everyday life, for everyday items, just anything. They're just mad because everything is so expensive. You know, and that's something else the Biden administration doesn't ever seem to talk about. Oh, they have a right to be mad.
Look, people have a right to be concerned. Ordinary people. The idea that you bounce a check and you get a $30 fee.
That's what he'll say, right? Like, yeah, of course we have a right to be mad. We're mad at you, Joe. It's your policies. The Biden administration did absolutely nothing to stop the absolute tidal wave of inflation that ramped way up to 9%. They did nothing to try to stop that from happening. They only reacted to that high inflation coming up. Did nothing to try to stop it, right? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And they're trying to pressure the Fed to drop the interest rates so we can get back a little bit more growth. Well, you can't drop the interest rates yet because they're worried about stagflation. They're worried about inflation ramping right back up if they go ahead and drop those inflation. So they're holding off on that, which is stagnating the shit out of our economy. And it's not looking good right now. I don't think the economy's going to crash. Of course not. I'm not trying to be a black pill, doom and gloom kind of person here, but we're not doing good, and we could be doing a lot better, is the point I'm trying to get across. He could, take the regulatory shackles off of our economy and let it boom. But no, Joe Biden wants to regulate everything into the freaking ground. He's proving that with the oil and gas industry. All to pander to his climate cultists. That's all he's doing with that. It makes absolutely no sense, right? Like, you want to change the climate for the better, Joe? Invest into technology that will innovate our way out of climate change, that'll help cars not produce so much carbon dioxide, that'll put scrubbers on the coal-fired power plants. Subsidize those technologies to accelerate their production, accelerate their development, so we can get this technology put into place and get it on these stacks and just get it out there so we can innovate our way out of this. It just doesn't ever make sense to me. They want to just kill the oil and gas industry outright, the bread and butter. And doing so will cause a whole hell of a lot more death and destruction than any sort of climate disaster that may or may not come in the near future, right? Like, no, I'm sorry, there's not going to be some grave climate disaster that's just going to blow it up humans. It doesn't make any sense, but I'm rambling again, so I think I'm going to end it here. I think that's all I got for this one, but I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. That's all I got for this one, y'all. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.